Hey, how you doing? Thank you all so much. Hello, North Carolina Patriots. Thank you so much for coming out here to the legislature on a beautiful Saturday and stand up for our right to keep and bear arms. My name is Glen Bradley. I am a United States Marine. I served in the North Carolina State House from 2011 to 2012. I helped enact Castle Doctrine in North Carolina. I introduced a 10th Amendment-based Firearms Freedom Act, and I fought hard against every concept of gun control that came up. I earned an A+ from the NRA-ILA and a 99% rating from Grassroots North Carolina. I stood against the leadership of my own party for failing to sufficiently protect gun rights, and they drew me right out of the district I was serving. That district has now been redrawn. I'm here today as a candidate for office. I am running for the North Carolina State House out of District 7, which is all of Franklin County and the southern portion of Nash. I will stand against the monster of gun control and gun confiscation. I will tell every organ of the state no. I will tell Washington, D.C. no. No, you may not infringe against our right to bear arms. Pass your laws, do your diligence, and I will stand and keep standing against every encroachment. I will not yield a yard. I will not yield an inch. I have voted as a citizen for 26 years to protect and defend the right to bear arms, and I will continue to vote to protect and defend the right to bear arms for the rest of my life. The right to keep and bear arms is not a new concept. Our framers made the historical step of enshrining the right in our U.S. Constitution's Bill of Rights. But the fundamental right to keep and bear arms goes back for thousands of years, and it has been, in every case, the hallmark of a free people. From King Leonidas of Sparta, who famously told Xerxes, "Molon labe," which means come and take them, to Cicero of Rome, a free people must not be disbarred of arms, and any people who have been disbarred of arms are not a free people.
That's right.
The framers recognized this. It was by King George to take arms, powder, and cannon away from the colonists of Massachusetts. On April 19, 1775, at the Battle of Lexington and Concord, that inspired the March 30th, 1775 Mecklenburg Declaration and the April 12th, 1776 Halifax Resolves, and ultimately the July 4th, 1776 Declaration of American Independence. In the past, North Carolina was renowned for our courage and for our dedication to liberty. We made the first statement of any people that we should seek independence in the Mecklenburg Declaration, and we were the first state to authorize our delegates to vote for independence in the Halifax Resolves. Today, North Carolina license plates still say "First in Freedom" to commemorate that historic role that North Carolina played in the movement to become independent from Great Britain. Our state government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the governor, they have lost their way. They seek comfort and aid from Washington, D.C. instead of standing up against the swamp to defend our citizens. They fear controversy in a world run amok when a controversial stand is exactly what we need the most. 480 years before Christ the Lord was born, there was a king of Sparta who stood with 300 men against all the armies of Xerxes, ruler of Persia. King Leonidas held the Persians in their thousands and thousands for 2 days until he found a way to flank them. Leonidas gave his life so that Greece would survive, and survive they did. When Xerxes with his thousands was stopped by 300 men, he offered to let Leonidas and his men go in peace if they threw down their arms. The king famously said, "Come and take them." This sets us apart in history as a people. Everywhere else around the world, as freedoms have come crashing down and as communists and fascists have taken control and enacted strict gun control regimens, the people of the world have laid down their arms. They took the deal with Xerxes. They wanted peace and security over freedom. But here in the United States, and particularly here in North Carolina, we will not lay down our arms. We will not go quietly into the gulag or the pogrom. Here is the last bastion of freedom on earth. Here is the last place that freedom survives. And if we lose our freedom here, then it is lost forever because there is nowhere else to go. But we will stand. We will stand and we will not be overwhelmed. We will go to the polls and vote for people who will protect our guns. We will go to the city and the county commissions and oppose anti-gun ordinances. We will go to the legislature and demand that they take their hands off of our handguns. We will go to Congress and demand that they obey the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Our rights today are imperiled by a progressive, liberal, Marxist machine that controls the schools and controls most of the media. Adults are told nonsense on the evening news, and children are taught nonsense in our schools. But it is not as dire for our future and our children as it sounds. The millennials as a generation are about as equally divided on the right to bear arms as Generation X and the baby boomers. You didn't hear that on the media, did you? It is not inevitable that guns will be banned in 50 years. It will only happen if we, standing here today, let it happen. I, for one, will not let it happen. I am standing here today to say, just like King Leonidas of Sparta said, Molon Labe, I will stand for the freedom of every future American generation when I stand up and tell all the powers that be, if you want them, come and take them. But listen, it doesn't have to go that way. It doesn't have to go down like that. The American gun owner has the most powerful voice in American politics, but only when we are united. Just like Benjamin Franklin said to the 13 colonies, join or die, so too will I say it to every one of us. When Clinton enacted the so-called assault weapons ban, gun owners got outraged, stood up, and cleared the decks in Congress. Since then, we have gotten many of these gun control schemes reversed. Since the gun owners of America have stood up, nearly every state in the Union had relaxed gun control. We have been winning. But we're slowing down because we're becoming factionalized. You have all these divided groups and the Republicans rolling over in this very General Assembly while we argue amongst ourselves. If you support the right to bear arms, if you oppose all these worthless gun control schemes, then you are my brothers. And you are my sisters, and we can come together around this issue and stand up with the largest coalition America has ever seen and put down these Marxist schemes for a century. One thing we can all start to do right now is to support our gun rights activists and candidates. You have strong organizations in North Carolina like Grassroots North Carolina and North Carolina Gun Rights. We have federal organizations like Gun Owners of America and the NRA. Get involved. Get activated. Get answers from your candidates for sheriff where they stand on gun control and whether they will comply with or oppose gun confiscation schemes, whether ordered by Washington, D.C. or by Raleigh. Vet your candidates for town or county commission, for the General Assembly, for Council of State, and for the governor. Learn where they all stand on guns and support those who will defend our rights. Get involved in and vote in the primaries. Volunteer for and donate to candidates who support gun rights. Most importantly, fire anyone who supports gun control. Ladies and gentlemen, the spirit of our movement is not the spirit of violence. It is the spirit of security. It is not the spirit of safety. It is the spirit of liberty. Jesus Christ himself told his disciples to sell their cloaks and buy a sword to defend themselves. What then is the right to keep and bear arms? The right to bear arms is about a great deal more than carrying a firearm. The right to bear arms is about our status as a free people. The right to bear arms cannot be infringed in the United States because in our republic, it is we, the people, individually who are sovereign. Our Republican form of government was created with the individual on top, delegating some of our powers to the state, and then the states delegating some of those powers to the United States government. Our framers who wrote the Constitution then created a new and unique concept amongst mankind called checks and balances. These checks and balances were all throughout the Constitution and our governments. Our children have been taught that only Congress and the President and the Supreme Court check and balance each other, but this is simply not true. The Constitutions are written to check and balance between the states and the federal government, and they are written to check and balance between the people and our governments. Our framers universally understood the government could go rogue and become oppressive no matter how well they were designed, and they explicitly created the right to bear arms so that the people themselves, armed to the teeth, were the final check against government oppression. That is not to say that they intended for the people to rise up and regularly overthrow the government they created, but it was the simple existence of that power in the hands of the people that was meant to prevent government from becoming oppressive in the first place. The idea was not to kill the oppressors, but to prevent oppression from rising in the first place. This is still critically important today. Defending the right to bear arms and defending our nation from becoming oppressive without firing a single shot. Do not say to yourself, it can't happen here, because it can. If you remember the Obama administration like I do, you will know that it does absolutely happen here. The right to bear arms is different from our other rights. The freedom of speech and the freedom of religion describe us as a people of liberty. The right to bear arms describes us as a sovereign people. Just like the sovereign over Great Britain was King George, the sovereigns in America are the American people. If we support our founders and our framers' vision for a Republican government of free and sovereign citizens, then it is absolutely imperative that we stand up as one people to defend the right to bear arms. If we do not stand up to defend our gun rights, they will slowly be eroded away until there is nothing left. Our children will be deprived of arms. Our grandchildren will suffer unbearable oppression, and our great-grandchildren will fight a war of survival because we let them down and did not secure their liberty. For our children, grandchildren, and our progeny forever, we must stand now. We must not back down. We must not give an inch. We must be resolved in our commitment to defend the right to bear arms. We must visit our senators and congressmen, our legislators and our commissioners. We must let them all know in no uncertain terms that yes, we support the right to keep and bear arms, and yes, this is the hill we're prepared to die on. Folks, all kinds of people are gun owners. You've got hunters, environmentalists, conservatives, and there are even Democrats who own guns and who support the right to bear arms. You have people of every race, creed, and color on earth right here in America supporting the right to bear arms. This issue brings us together as Americans. It crosses racial, demographic, class, and partisan lines. We can all stand together as Americans to defend liberty, and the right to keep and bear arms is not the harbinger of death. It is the right that preserves liberty and life. Law-abiding gun owners across the nation use their firearms in defense of themselves and their families every single day. But that is not the only life that it defends. There is nothing more toxic to humanity, nothing that has ever been more murderous and genocidal than oppressive governments. By upholding and defending the right to bear arms, we work to prevent that very oppression, and we work to prevent those very murders. I am not afraid to say right here and right now that the only thing standing in between America today and ruthless, oppressive government in a few decades is the American people's right to keep and bear arms. Every generation has the responsibility to defend freedom, including all of us here today. We will succeed because we must. We will succeed because this nation is the last stand of freedom and liberty for the entire mankind. We will succeed because we are North Carolina and we are first in freedom, and the eternal God of creation stands with us. God is not the author of chaos and oppression. God is the author of peace and liberty. We, gun rights activists in America, we too stand for peace and liberty. And you know what they say, 1 plus God is a majority. Every single time. We are the majority. Gun owners are the majority of the United States, and gun owners are the majority of North Carolina. If we all stand up, if we refuse to back down, ever and for any reason, then we will prevail, and America will continue to be the beacon of freedom for centuries to come. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, so much for your time. Thank you for your attention and for being active in the defense of gun rights. Thank you for taking time out of this beautiful Saturday to stand up for the Second Amendment. My name is Glen Bradley. I'm a U.S. Marine. I served in the North Carolina State House from 2011 to 2012. You can find me online on Twitter and on Facebook at Glen Bradley or at glenbradley.com.